All right, good morning. It's time to talk 49ers free agency because my big piece is out on The Athletic. I went through all 33 pending 49ers free agents, and today we're going to talk about the offensive side of the football. Yes, Raheem Mostert is one of those guys. It's an interesting case for the 49ers, and we have other big names, namely Laken Tomlinson, that we'll discuss today as the 49ers navigate through a cap crunch this offseason. They have 33 pending free agents again, and they have currently negative salary cap space. So it's going to take some financial maneuvering for the 49ers to be in the position to field the best possible roster come the 2022 season. As always, subscribe to the channel now, hit that notification button. We're going to be talking 49ers all off season long. We've already been doing it in depth, and I think that this video is going to take it to yet another level before we start going into individual position groups. But this is going to be for the entire offense. So here we go. 49ers offense free agency. They have not a lot of money to work with, but how can they make it happen? Will Laken Tomlinson command $10 million a season? The 49ers left guard, in my opinion, is a critical re-sign for this team unless they have a rabbit under their hat that they can just kind of pull out and maybe pull Kansas City Chiefs last offseason when the Chiefs essentially rebuilt their entire offensive line. But the 49ers already have plenty of offensive line construction to go. In fact, if you look at the status of the unit, Mike McGlinchey at right tackle is going to be coming off a torn quad. Daniel Brunskill, the right guard, is going to be a restricted free agent, so they could keep him around probably at a decent price. But the question is, do you want to upgrade at right guard? And where the hell's Aaron Banks right now? We're still not sure because he didn't play as a rookie. Alex Smack, the center, is going to be 37 years old next season. So he might contemplate retirement. He hasn't committed to being back next season for the 49ers. And Laken Tomlinson is a pending unrestricted free agent at left guard. That means that the only true fixture is Trent Williams at left tackle, and he may need surgery this offseason after playing on a high ankle sprain against the Rams in the NFC Championship game. So the 49ers were beaten up front in that NFC title game. There's no question about it. They weren't able to run the ball, and they didn't pass protect well. And a lot of that had to do with Trent Williams' high ankle sprain. And essentially, in the big picture, you saw the 49ers invest heavily in the offensive line last offseason, obviously by signing Trent Williams, by signing Alex Mack, by drafting Jalen Moore, by drafting Aaron Banks. And the results were mixed. Right? That investment paid off to some degree. Williams was one of the best players in football, but the 49ers got hardly anything from their rookies in Moore and Banks. And obviously, Alex Mack was a success, but we don't know if he was only around for one season since he'll be 37 next year. And by the end of the road, that, mixed bag of success, didn't show up for the 49ers in the NFC Championship game because of injuries, mainly because that depth didn't really pan out. They didn't have a Jalen Moore to turn to. They didn't have an Aaron Banks to turn to, and instead Trent Williams is playing there on a high ankle sprain in the NFC Championship game, which, and playing with injury is going to be risk anywhere in the NFL, but Trent Williams is on the wrong side of 30. He's a dominant player, but it still underscores the 49ers need to build this offensive line with as much depth as possible. And with Laken Tomlinson being one of the truly durable fixtures of it at left guard, I think, where else do the 49ers go but re-sign him, right? Because if you're leaking oil at these other O-line positions, and if you want to protect Trey Lance, because it's going to be even more important next year to have a good pass protecting line than it was before with an inexperienced quarterback, you better not be leaking oil at left guard also, right? There's a lot of erosion potentially happening along the 49ers front, and they're going to have to spend this offseason trying to stop that erosion. And I think they can't afford to have erosion also take place at left guard. So I pulled up over the cap. These are left guard contracts in the NFL right now. Laken Tomlinson, if you look at the metrics, PFF grade 11 out of 56 guards. So that's both left and right guard. So we could say, probably around number 6 around all left guards in the cumulative run and pass blocking grade. And that means that he might command about $10 million per year. Tomlinson currently at about $5.5 million per year. But you look at Bitonio, Thuney, Andrus Peat, those Roger Saffold, those are your 4 richest contracts for left guards, and they go 16, 16, 11.5, and 11 million. Tomlinson has only missed a couple snaps for the 49ers in his time since being traded from the Detroit Lions in 2017 due to the fact that his shoe was untied. He had a shoe malfunction. So on a team where availability has been an issue, Laken Tomlinson's durability is a big deal. And is he a perfect pass protector? No, but he's above average. Is he a perfect run blocker? No, but he's well above average. And all of that puts him way, way above average in terms of the guard rankings because he is balanced in both facets of the game. So I think that $10 million per year absolutely is something that Laken Tomlinson might command. And I think that it might hurt the 49ers to have to stretch the wallet to make it happen. But at the end of the day, I think it might be necessary to make it happen along the offensive line. So let's keep an eye out on what Laken Tomlinson's money will be. And then let's also keep an eye out on this. What will Raheem Mostert's price be coming off of injury? Remember that Mostert was originally playing up until this season on a deal worth about $3 million per year. And it's something that caused Mostert and his representative, Brett Tesler, to play contractual hardball with the 49ers entering the 2020 season because he exploded in that NFC Championship game at the end of the 2019 season. And that was originally a contract designed for the special teams ace that Mostert had been when he signed it. But then he turned into a star running back, so he wanted more money. 49ers and Mostert's representation met in the middle and guaranteed some parts of Mostert's deal, which was nice because he did get hurt afterward in both the 2020 and then he had the season-ending injury in the 2021 season. So where's Raheem Mostert now? Well, we know two things. We know that his burst, his acceleration is completely unique, and it's a game changer for this 49ers offense. Even Elijah Mitchell, who has quite the burst and quite the ability to find the holes on the outside zone, doesn't have what Raheem Mostert has. And that changes things, and that's significant from a play calling perspective for the 49ers. So there obviously is a temptation to bring Raheem Mostert back just because so much of what the offense does is based on how he can stretch the field and how those long strides. I mean, it almost looks like he's ice skating out there. He's gliding across the turf. Those can change things for the 49ers offensively, create space for Trey Lance, create space for whoever's under center, and give Kyle Shanahan the play calling abilities that he truly wants with room out on the field. That being said, since, Mostert is valuable potentially to the 49ers in that way, the argument can be made that he's worth quite a bit of money, which is why he played contractual hardball with them in 2020. But obviously, injuries have been a year in and year out concern for Raheem Mostert. And last season, he only lasted 2 rushes before he had to have that season-ending surgery that he hopes to come back 100% from. So if he does come back 100%, Raheem Mostert's going to be 30. But obviously, injuries have been an issue in the past. What kind of deal might he command coming off that injury and not having played for almost all of 2021? That's going to be a huge, huge question entering this offseason because I think that Elijah Mitchell is the 49ers workhorse at running back. But, how nice would it be for the 49ers to be able to have the guy up on your screen complementing Elijah Mitchell, the workhorse, with a limited load if the 49ers can find a way to make a deal happen? Now, if some team says, oh, my God, we love this speed as well. I mean, Mike McDaniel is going to be in Miami now, so maybe he's going to want Raheem Mostert to come back to Florida. The Dolphins have a ton of cap space. They can implement the system with Raheem. Are they going to be able to, dish out north of $5 million a year, something that the 49ers almost certainly wouldn't be able to do? Yes, that's very possible. But maybe the injury concerns, that's something the 49ers did when they signed Pierre Garçon toward, the tail end of his career for a premium back in 2017 to help establish Kyle Shanahan's system since he was familiar with that staff. Well, now the 49ers, they're the contending team now. They're the team low on cap space. They can't just sign guys for culture reasons. They have to sign guys for specific purposes. And there's a specific purpose that Raheem Mostert might be able to play, but a team like the Dolphins might be able and more willing to spend more on Mostert for more than just specific purpose reasons, because they're just trying to build a cultural foundation with the Dolphins. The answers to these questions, I don't know. I'm just bringing up the questions right now because these are what we're looking at as far as the 49ers offseason. There's one key restricted free agent on the offensive side of the ball, and that's Daniel Brunskill, who, as we know, is a strong utility piece in the offensive line room for the 49ers. He started at right guard in all of the games this season. But if the 49ers, see something progress as they want to along the fronts of developing rookies and now developing second-year players, Aaron Banks will take over that right guard spot sooner rather than later. Otherwise, that's tough. Otherwise, they wasted a second-round pick. Now, I understand Banks was raw this year. He had to change his body. He had to technically learn behind the scenes to be ready to grab that right guard position. But, I mean, you would hope that by year 2, Aaron Banks would be able to slide into that role. If that's the case, I think that's good news for the 49ers and not necessarily bad news for Daniel Brunskill, who was a below average guard for the 49ers. And I truly believe this guy is more suited as a tackle, maybe even as a center, but best suited as a utility sixth offensive lineman for an NFL team, and NFL teams to compete, as we again saw. I was hammering this last offseason, and it proved true again. NFL teams need at least 7 quality offensive linemen to compete and withstand the rigors of a 17-game NFL season plus the playoffs. The 49ers just played 20 games. That ties a record in franchise history this season. And they also just played 12 road games, which was an NFL record. No team had ever played more road games than the 49ers this year. So you need all the depth that you can handle to make the offensive line good. And I think Brunskill, being a former college tight end, being on the lighter side, being a guy that excelled as a swing tackle for the 49ers in that 2019 season and has also played center, so you can essentially play every single position on the offensive line. I think they want to bring him back as a utility guy. And since he's a restricted free agent, here's how that works. They can tender him. They could offer the right of first refusal tender. They can offer a first-round tender, which means that if Brunskill signs for a different price, a higher price elsewhere, the 49ers get a first-round draft pick in return. Brunskill won't get a first-round tender. I'm just saying that's an option. Or they could offer the second-round tender to him, which means they'll get a second-round tender in return if they're willing to pay Brunskill a certain price. The tender prices are online. I linked them in my piece. I could take a look at them in a little bit, but they range from like $5 million to $4 million down to $2 million. And I do think that right of first refusal tender for Daniel Brunskill might be what the 49ers need to get this done. That means they offer him whatever it is, I think $2.2 million. Don't quote me on that. Brunskill can then float around offers from other teams. If somebody offers him more, the 49ers can say, wait. No, we're going to come in. This guy's worth a lot to us as a lineman who knows our system. We'll match your offer. We'll bring him back to the 49ers. I think Brunskill is worth that. I think they need him on this football team because, I mean, like I said, we don't know what's going to happen with Alex Mack. Maybe the team knows, but that's another, domino that might fall for the 49ers. I'm not sure where Aaron Banks is. We'll find out next year. We might not be sure where Mike McGlinchey is. I mean, torn quads don't have 100% recovery rate. So there's a lot going on, and a trusted agent like Daniel Brunskill needs to be retained for the 49ers. Other offensive unrestricted free agents. We'll go through these guys one by one. Jeff Wilson, I think he may be able to come at a discount this next year because he only had 22 carries this season. So when you look at that, he was coming off the meniscus injury, obviously tore the meniscus when he was standing up during OTAs from a chair in a locker room. That was bad luck. That meant that he had a slower start, right, when he came back. I think it was against the Rams in Week 10. But I thought Jeff Wilson ran decently well. I thought that Elijah Mitchell was a better option, and I think Wilson's going to be better a year removed from his injury. So I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers are able to get Jeff Wilson on the veteran salary exception this year. And what the veteran salary exception is a vet minimum contract plus usually a signing bonus of $137,500, which by rule only takes on the cap hit of a second-year rookie, which is around $850,000. So you can squeeze contracts that are low enough around a rookie cap hit, a second-year rookie cap hit. And the 49ers did this a ton last year to fit under the cap. I do think that a player like Jeff Wilson might qualify for a veteran salary exception. I do think that you seriously consider bringing him back because you can never have too many quality running backs who know the system. And Anthony Lynn now in the building is going to be working with those 49ers running backs. He's a specialist with those running backs in that power run game. You really have to think about bringing familiar names back, and maybe Anthony Lynn will have some players that he wants to infuse into the room from past experience that are available this season. Tom Compton. This is an interesting one because Tom Compton, I think, falls into the Brunskill bucket in terms of a versatile offensive lineman that could do some good things for the 49ers. He's going to be a 10th-year vet, and he just delivered his best NFL season. He was the number 3 graded PFF run blocker in all of football, behind only Trent Williams and Tyron Smith from the Cowboys. Now, Compton wasn't a bottom quartile of pass blockers, but that run blocking was something to behold. And he got himself in shape. He fits that 49ers system. And it was so good that over the cap, when they use the PFF grades to value players, they value Compton at like $6.2 million. I don't think the 49ers can afford Compton at $6.2 million. And I don't think that's actually going to be his number, because I think that the 49ers system is so perfectly tailor-made for Compton's skill set, and he tailor-made his abilities for his skill set. I think the 49ers are the one team that might be willing to pay Compton, that much money, but they don't have to, right? Because they'd be bidding against themselves, because the rest of the league, I don't think values Tom Compton as high after, 8 seasons that were subpar, but this 9th one, you have to tip your cap to how well he run blocked. Well, the fact that he could play right tackle, the fact that he could play the guard positions or even left tackle, given the flux that the offensive line faces, I think it's important that they bring Compton back, just like Brunskill. And I do think he deserves a little bit of a raise based on what he delivered this past season. So Tom Compton might cost, $3 million for the 49ers this year. But again, if it's a priority to hammer on that offensive line, that's the kind of money that you're going to have to find a way to fit into the budget. Trent Sherfield. 49ers currently have 2 receivers under contract. That's Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. It's going to be easy to bring back Juwan Jennings. He's an exclusive rights free agent, which means that if the 49ers want him, they offer him a contract, he has to take it. So Jennings will be there. But we saw special teams last season. It was a disaster for much of the year. Obviously, they started getting stuff done in the final 2 games against the Packers in the divisional playoff. But Sherfield had that great down punt as the gunner in the NFC Championship game against the Rams. Now, the Rams turned around, drove 97 yards, so it was all for naught. But Sherfield's one of the better special teams players in the NFC West. And he didn't have too many catches. We thought he might have a breakout based on training camp in the receiving game. But still, a guy that you're comfortable with at the number 4 receiving spot, he made some big catches, too, this year. I still remember a 3rd down catch on a slant from Garoppolo. The 49ers were backed up in their own red zone against the Vikings. That was huge towards sealing that game. I don't think you mind Sherfield as your number 4 since he's such a good contributor on special teams. So I think that that's a unrestricted free agent you try to bring back as the 49ers, and I think that it shouldn't be too much of a problem since he didn't explode offensively this year. Ross Dwelley is an interesting case study. I have Ross Dwelley's snap counts here in the article. He had 520 snaps in 2020, down to 378 in 2019, and only 196, so down again in 2021, during which Dwelley played for $1.6 million, which is higher than any veteran salary exception. The snap count went down for Dwelley because Charlie Werner around week 8 took and usurped him on the depth chart. So if the 49ers still want Dwelley because they love how he does stuff, right? He's a model playbook guy, a great guy to have in the building. If they still want to insulate that tight end room depth, even though both George Kittle and Charlie Werner are ahead of him, then they absolutely can do that. But I think that Dwelley, because his snap count has been going down, I think he might come potentially at a bit lower price than that $1.6 million than last year. It's going to be really interesting to see if the 49ers are able to keep Dwelley at a price that, doesn't break the bank at all, because they would like to keep depth. But hey, maybe some team likes the fact that Dwelley's a veteran, that he came from the 49ers system. I mean, just like coaches are poached, players can be poached as well, because teams might think they'd be a good glue guy in their system. And the 49ers have developed a lot of respect around the league. It's hard to believe just 4 seasons ago, they're in that 2018 nightmare with Garoppolo hurt, going 4-12. It's a siren right outside. And that, now every single year they have coaches being just yanked away. Mike McDaniel just left. Even last season, after they went 6-10, the 49ers had Robert Saleh yanked away. Mike LaFleur went with him. John Benton went with him. Well, players too, when an organization is highly respected, there might be a demand for a guy like Dwelley to go help out another team. And that other team might be willing to pay more than the 49ers for him, since Charlie Werner has taken his spot on the depth chart. Mohamed Sanu is going to be 33 next year. So unless the 49ers get a really good deal there, I think they go younger at the receiver position. Remember, this all ties into the fact that the 49ers have 9 draft picks. 9. And that might go up if Jimmy Garoppolo gets traded. Those 9 draft picks right now would cost a total of $7.7 million on the 2022 cap to sign. You can see that the draft is the most cost-efficient way of doing business in the NFL. So guys like Sanu, it's going to be really tough because his minimum salary is higher than a younger guy's minimum salary. The longer you're in the league, the higher your minimum salary is. And the 49ers are up against it with the cap. So I think at 33, I mean, he was hurt this past year for a big chunk of it. I think that that's a position, that's a spot, that number 5, number 6 receiver spot of the 49ers try to hammer through the draft. Same with Travis Benjamin. Wrong side of 30, had 1 catch this past year. He was the punt returner by season's end, but did he move the needle for you in any way? I don't think so. They wanted him to be a deep threat guy. I just don't think that worked out. I think that's where you go into the draft. Trenton Cannon's interesting. They really liked him as a returner. They're going to need to try to keep the special teams, the good players on special teams there to make sure that unit elevates. Richard Hightower, the coordinator, is now gone to Chicago. We'll see who takes over the unit. But Cannon suffered that scary concussion where the ambulance had to come out at Seattle, and he was never reactivated. I mean, he came off of IR, but he didn't play again after that this past season. So we'll see what the 49ers do with him. I would imagine he wouldn't be all too pricey for them if they do want to keep him in 2022. Jake Brendel is the backup center. He won that job coming out of camp. Regardless of whether or not Mack retires, I think the 49ers need center depth. We learned that through the disasters at the position in 2020. So I think they'll try to find a way to keep Brendel around, as he's a player that knows the system and who really earned it and won his spot. Yes, Richie James is still on the roster. The 49ers waived him with the injury designation. He didn't get claimed, so he reverted back to the roster right before the start of the season. It was a knee injury that he'd been playing hurt with for a while. Will they, is Richie healed now? Do they bring him back at the minimum? Possibly. I know that they liked Richie when he was healthy. I know that he could be a special teams weapon. I just don't know if his frame was smaller. I think that probably contributed to the injury issues, especially when you're running him on kick return there. So I don't know. I don't know where his health status is right now, but it is key to note that he actually was on the roster, but on IR throughout all of the 2021 season. Then the River Craycraft, special teams guy. If the 49ers need a trusted agent in the room, I'm sure that they'll be able to bring him back for something at or near the minimum. So those are your 49ers free agents. You guys are asking a lot of questions. Nah, you're not. You're talking about the cops. The cops were coming for me. Yeah, I heard the siren out there, but they haven't found me yet. So I don't see all too many questions right here. But I'm going to run a Q&A a little bit later. So this is not really a time and place for questions. Wanted to go through the free agent article. Again, here's the link. Subscribe to The Athletic. Everybody enjoy your Tuesdays. I have a class to go teach. I'm a college professor. I teach up at the College of Marin. So I'm going to go meet some students in person. We're going back to in-person instruction today. So everybody take care. We're going to go through biggest draft needs, all of that a little bit later on. And a defensive free agent piece will be coming out tomorrow. It's in the written article, but more videos are coming. Everybody subscribe. Hope you enjoyed, and everybody enjoy your Tuesday.